You know how strong men, and some people who powerlift, they'll use mouth, like there's a brand called, I don't know, it's
mouth guards,
mouth guard. There's a mouth guard brand for powerlifters and strength athletes. And it's so that, like, they say that, when you lift more weight, to lift more weight, you want to clench your jaw against this. It'll allow you to produce more force. But there's the opposite side of the spectrum that's like, relax your face, because if you relax your face, you'll be able to zone in and lift more weight. What do you think is kind of like, is there both sides, do they have some of it, or what's the answer there?
And a lot of it is personal because although I love studies and I love numbers data, is that if you're an elite athlete and you're doing something that is specific to you and not doesn't have a foundation in science, but it works for you, do it. I am not a purist in that way, because so much of your performance has to do with your mental game. And if clenching your teeth or not clenching your teeth actually gets you a better lift, don't change that. That works for you. So I would have to ask you what you do, Mark.
So for me, I used to just make a lot of noise before I'd lift.
I've heard this.
Yeah, I would breathe a lot. I think Andrew's kind of looking for a clip.
I'm trying really hard.
I would go to like our chalk bowl and basically play patty cake with the chalk bowl. It was sort of like a ritualistic kind of thing, but
I don't know why it's in slow motion. But
I don't know for me if it like pulled any more out of me than what is normal. But like I would oftentimes kind of pace back and forth, and I would breathe a lot. And Smokey kind of does the same thing. He does, one of our lifters in the gym. I don't know if you can hear. There's some smelling salts. But I don't know. This probably doesn't have.
No, it doesn't have audio.
Like when he does that, he's like,
let me find it.
Like it sounds like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's fucking crazy.
It sounds like you're letting a lot of air out of a tire. And then I would breathe the same way when I was lifting. So once I actually went into the lift, I would take air in and I'd breathe the air out as I'm going and trying to be explosive. So it was a way for me to like jog my memory and kind of jog my brain through what I was about to go through.
So that's a brilliant answer, okay? Is that you practice the breath that you were going to do when you did the movement right before it. So it was almost like prepping your body for that with your breath, and you were prepping your brain as well, because remember, your brain looks at it. So fantastic. And those are the questions you have to ask, is like, why are you breathing that way and what does it do for you?
And I felt good. Like I personally felt good turned up. Maybe not everybody feels good that way. Maybe some people feel like I'm drawing too much attention, or maybe it's distracting to them. But for me, it always felt good. I kind of also felt like, I've been powerlifting my whole life. I got 60 to 90 seconds to be in front of everybody. Like, let's make this a fucking thing.
Excellent.
Let's make this fun.
Yeah.
And people would get fired up with me. So
Yeah.
So check this out. This is great.
Here we go, Bill. Lock it in. Let's go.
Wrapping those wrists up tight.
Come on. Right now. Come on. Right now. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, Bill. Let's go. Let's go, Bill. You're going for 500 pounds. Let's go, Smelly.
Sounds like an air compressor.
Let's go. Let's go, Mark.
There we go.
Green lights.
Yeah, so good. I got goosebumps.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. With that type of breathing, what's going on?
You're upregulating. So you're waking yourself up. And if you think about your arousal in a curve, right? Is that you want to be in different places depending on what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you also, that's what your breathing does, is it keeps you, it's called Yerkes. I forgot the second word, but it's a curve that has to do with arousal. Now, you don't want to be too much to the left, and you definitely don't want to be too much to the right. If you're to the left, you're kind of numb. You can't get yourself to perk up. You know the feeling, right? The middle is when you're in the zone and you're doing well and your breath is connected. And to the right is when you're in the black, Lieutenant Colonel David Grossman calls it in the black. And that's when you don't have control. So for instance, in that lift, you want to be slightly to the right, but still within the zone because you don't want to lose control.
Yeah, I've gone too far.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah.
Where I like cried and like it had opposite impact.
Yeah.
I was like, that wasn't good. That was crappy.
Yeah. That wasn't good. So with the breath, you are pumping yourself up or you're getting yourself excited and focused and aggressive in a place that's very narrow on that curve. And to me, if I was to work with you, is that I would want to make sure that that was replicable so that you know what you're doing and you can do it over and over and over again exactly the same. Because most of us, especially with someone who's elite, is that you do it because it comes naturally, but you don't really know what you're doing. And I've had some great conversations with folks who are really elite to see what they're doing. So I could now take it and go like, for us common people, what are those folks doing that we need to be able to learn? So for instance, golf is a game that has no breathing in it at all. And part of it is cultural. So I do CrossFit. I also golf. And part of the reason I golf is, and it took a little while for it to get me to get to the golf course because it didn't feel like a sport. Didn't feel like a real sport. But it's a precision sport, right? And I'm writing a chapter about precision sports. I'm writing about shooting, about archery, about billiards, about golf. So I have to go out there and try this because I'm going to be writing about it. And you ask great golfers what they do, and they'll say, oh, I do this, that, and the other thing. Do you do it every single time? So your natural elite athlete will do it every single time exactly the same. But the first question to ask is, what are you doing exactly? And do you do it every single time? Because then your performance shouldn't change. And in most sports, what's interesting is that we're obsessed with repetitions and practice and training. But the one element that we haven't focused on is the breath. So it's kind of a secret thing that hasn't been worked on. So how good would your performance be if you threw the breath into that? So for instance, you obviously are a fantastic athlete. Your age, you're at the pinnacle of your breathing, being 29. Your mechanics get better.
It's going to be 30 soon.
It's going to be 30? Oh.
Very soon to be 30 years old.
I ain't going to look it for another 10 years though.
Going to be old.
Old, 30. Remember when 30 was old?
Power Project family, how's it going? Now on this podcast, Mark, Andrew, and I, we talk about fasting a lot. We talk about the ketogenic diet and a lot of different types of diets, but Bubs Naturals has a product. They have the collagen protein, which is amazing. They have these apple cider vinegar gummies, which are like crack, but they have
They have these
MCT oil powder packets that I've never used to do this, but in the morning I'll wake up and I'll put it in coffee, and the smoothness, number one, in terms of the mixing is amazing, but the consistency of my energy through the day because of the MCT oil powder is peak. Andrew, how's your experience with it?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. It's like the best way to start the day. You're satiated, you're energized, and you're just ready to crush the day. So if you guys want to get in on this MCT oil powder, head over to bubsnaturals.com and at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject to save 20% off your entire order. Again, Bubs Naturals, promo code PowerProject to save 20% off. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
When I get to be, you always have these things about when you get to be 30. Yeah. Missed all of those. Is that you take as good as you are at what you do, and now you actually get your mechanics to be an A and get your breathing muscles to be crazy strong. What happens to your performance? That's what's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Because endurance isn't just cardiovascular. Endurance is cardiovascular and respiratory conditioning. And we've completely omitted the respiratory conditioning. And that to me is crazy, because you do cardio, it's your heart, right? So what about your breathing muscles? You have 10 pounds of breathing muscles and you're omitting that from the equation. So endurance has to have those two elements. Working out, getting the mechanics and your breathing muscles strong, and the cardiovascular. Then you have optimal endurance.
Power Project family, we appreciate you checking out this clip. Check out another one. Just go check out another one. Or comment down below and let us know what you liked about this one. But we love you guys, and we're going to keep bringing you the heat. So comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Okay. Peace.